Hey, what's going on YouTube? In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Codex CLI. It allows us to interact with the OpenAI API. And in this case, it's going to act as a lightweight coding agent, as you can see from the documentation, pretty much allowing us to read, modify, and run code on our local machine. So in today's video, we're going to spin up an EC2 instance to act as our lab. And we're going to start from the very beginning and install, and then we're going to go over some of the use cases on how it can be used. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So first, before we get into the instructions, I'm going to also point out that they have the GitLab or GitHub repository. It also has more in-depth information in here. But first, let's go ahead and head over to our GitLab. As you might have seen in another video, I pretty much have my CloudFormation templates where I'm starting to work them into my GitLab pipeline. In this case, we have two jobs, manual jobs, and once I go ahead and deploy test lab, it's going to go ahead and spin us up an EC2 instance, a simple EC2 instance with public internet. So pretty much just giving us a fresh install so we could play around and get Codex CLI set up. All right, so once this completes, which should be done in just a minute, we go ahead and we could open this up. And as you can see, it says create complete. So if we go over into our EC2, this is not necessary if you're just spinning up a virtual machine, but this is just kind of what I've been doing lately. And if you're something that you're interested in, just drop a comment below and I will get you that CloudFormation and how I run all this. Maybe I'll set up another video covering all that more in depth. So this is going to be the instance that we had just spun up from our GitLab. So we're just going to go ahead and highlight that instance and go ahead and connect into it using EC2 Instance Connect. I'm going to go ahead. Usually you obviously want to update and upgrade your machine. I'm not sure how old this will be, but let's go ahead and just try doing it without it, just for time's sake. So we're going to go over to the instructions, which is also at the bottom of this page. But in the GitHub, you're going to go ahead and you're going to see these instructions here. But first, we're going to go ahead and install Node.js. All right, and then we're going to have to install N, which is pretty much allowing us to upgrade it. So we're going to do sudo. Sorry, we have to install npm first. So sudo apt-get install npm, just like we just did with Node.js. Once this is installed, we're going to go ahead and then we'll go ahead and update to the latest version, because if you don't, you will get some errors with the codex, pretty much calling out a crypto library missing. All right, now that we have npm installed, we're going to run npm install -gn, and that's going to allow us to do the upgrade our node to the latest version. So we'll do sudo and latest, and then we're going to be installing 23.11. All right, so then if we head over to the Codex documentation, we're going to go ahead and copy these instructions here. Just go ahead and paste that. So npm install -g, we'll run with sudo, okay? And once that is complete, you're going to go ahead and want to grab your API key and update it or export it. So go over to the playground if you have not already done so, and then sign up for this and get your API key in the settings. It's pretty straightforward. Find documentation and knock that out. Once you do so, go ahead, copy this command here, paste it in the terminal, and then you will be able to start using Codex. All right, so now at this point, we can just do Codex and we should be able to get in. But you will see this error here saying that it is outside of a Git repository. So what we want to do is going to go ahead and just go to pandas, and we're going to just grab any random one, or we could go to one of our repositories, and actually we will do that because this is quite large. So we just went over to our CyberMe GitHub repository, and we're just going to go ahead and copy and clone this repository over for this lab. We're just going to do git clone, paste in that link. And now if you list out the content of this directory, you're going to see YouTube Labs. So now we can run Codex, and now we have Codex running. So pretty much just like if you were using ChatGPT, you could ask it any questions. So we could just start with saying even ls. It's because it's going to understand the command that we were running, and it's going to list out those it's going to list out the files in this directory. You could see what it's doing in the background. So like this is what the agent is doing, and then this is what it's reporting. And as you can see, these are the files. So if we X out and we just run ls, you can see that these are the files that we have here. So that's pretty cool. So let's go back into Codex, and let's say we want to know a little bit more about the Dashi. So let's go ahead and we'll say ls Dashi, because we know that that is a directory, and let's go see what those files are in there. All right, so in this case, like I must have made a mistake. So let's go ahead and we'll exit that out and just see if, oh, of course it's because it was, which is pretty cool. So, okay, so I guess it took it for what I said. So I said ls-e, and obviously when it did that, it cannot find it because the D is capitalized. So suggesting case correction. Okay, the user typed ls-e, and then it gives an explanation, and then it says to use ls-e. So that is actually pretty cool. And then it lists out those files. So as you can see here in the background, that is what it is getting. And then it returns it. It looks like your directory is named -c with a capital D. So it's calling me out for my mistake. And then it says here is what is inside of it. Great. So now we have an idea of what is inside of that directory. Let's say we wanted to get a better understanding of what update GitHub file is doing. Let's say it was like super extensive and we don't have any idea what it's doing. Meanwhile, if we go into it and we just go into cd-e, there's not much to it at all actually, right? So what is it doing? It's just a bash script, it's cd into home directory, git add. Yeah, pretty straightforward. But in the case where it wasn't, this would be useful. So if we just say explain -c update github.sh, it should be able to give us an understanding of what is going on in that script. So let's see what it says. Oh, we ran into the same problem. Oh, because now we are inside of that directory, so it messed it up. Because we changed directory inside of that. So there's no -e directory, obviously, because now we're just inside of the -e directory. So great. So it finds that, and then it says, where are we at? Explaining Git script. I have a simple bash script that automates the process of committing and pushing changes to a Git repository. First, it changes the directory to the user repos, adds all the changes to the staging area, commits them with a timestamp, and pushes them to the main branch. However, it might not add hidden files, blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty cool. Gives us an understanding of exactly what that file is doing. It also says that I should note that the directory path is a placeholder, and while using git add period would be an improvement, it's not required for the basic functionality. Here's what the script does line by line. So in the CLI, we're able to get a line by line explanation of what exactly is going on. So in line 1, we have the shebang. Line 2, we have tells your shell to run, or sorry, this is for that. Tells your shell, that's what the shebang is. Line 2, we have change into your directory, or into your git repo directory. Then we have stage all changes, that's what git add is with the star, and so on. Take it a step further. Let's say we wanted to change this. So maybe we want to listen to that recommendation of, instead of doing git add star, we'll do git add period. We could go ahead and use Codex to do that. And that's the whole point of this lightweight coding agent, or one of the main points. So let's go ahead and say, so I just said, can you make those changes and add git add period instead of git add star? Also make a commit saying those changes were made. So let's go ahead and enter that in. So it's going to go ahead and give us some information. So here was our request. Here it talks about what exactly is going on. Here's the command. And then here it's going to give us some options. So in this case, we want to do yes. So we're going to select Y. So that made those changes. And now it's going to do git add and then git commit. All right, so it says that it has updated to use git add period instead of git add star, and committed it with this message. And here's the message. So if we go ahead and control C and exit out of Codex, and we do git status, you're going to see that we are ahead of main by 1 commit. And then if we do git log, you're going to see here at the top that we should have git add. Change git add star to git add period in update, which is the latest commit that we had just created using the Codex CLI. Last but not least, which is also the benefit of doing it in a CLI, is so if we quit out of here and let's say we wanted to do the same thing but not open up Codex, we could just do codex explain docker compose.yaml, And then it will just go ahead and do that for us without actually opening up the, like doing Codex and then typing it in. So it's just doing it right from the command line, which is pretty cool. All right, that's going to pretty much close out this video. I will go ahead and tear down this cloud formation so we don't have any resources running. So that's the benefit of using cloud formation and also storing it within GitLab, which I think is just cool. So now if we go to cloud formation, open up our stack and then click on delete, it'll go ahead and delete all the resources that we had spun up for this environment, and it will not charge us more than, I don't know, a couple cents. But that's going to close out today's video. I hope you were able to take something away. Today we covered the Codex CLI, which is a lightweight coding agent. It does have some progress to be made. Obviously, as you can see, it is not the fastest, but it is pretty cool, and I do see it having a future in my tool set in the future because of its ability to just interact with my code base right in the CLI and not having to use anything else. Especially if maybe I'm not writing, huge programs, at least yet. I use it a lot for, scripting and stuff like that. Like when I'm writing Python scripts or something to automate some tasks or, some YAML files. So I do think that this would be useful instead of having to use like maybe Visual Studio Code, or the other tools that are available within that environment, or just using ChatGPT. I think this could definitely be beneficial because it is a lightweight coding agent and it does allow us to make those changes right from our local machine. It doesn't have to do copy or paste, and it gives us the ability to approve and deny those requests, make commit changes, and so on and so forth. So like I said, I think this is definitely going to be worth it down the road. Just has some work to be done. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, never stop learning.